Hey Luke, how's it going?
Hey everyone, how's it going?
It's going great. We want to welcome everybody back to our podcast on the Road to Damascus.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, everybody. Oh man, you know what I've been loving about our podcast so far? I mean, we're still pretty baby brand newish, but
Mm,
what I love is that we get to hear how everybody is doing on their own journey. And that's
yeah,
really where our name came from, is because everybody has an experience, everybody has a life-changing moment, and they're all so radically different. And I just want to hear them all.
for sure, for sure. I think it's my favorite thing about the whole podcast is hearing different people's story. And you got it 100% right about that on the road to Damascus. Everyone's on this road, this journey through life and what God's doing through every single individual, which leads us on to who our amazing guest is this week, if you want to introduce him.
Yes. So we have my friend Talor Joseph on our podcast today. Talor has been part of my family. I'm not even saying he's friend. He's basically part of my family. Has been for 7 years. He is like the big, like my little brother. He's almost an uncle to my children. He's throwing, the ball in the backyard with my kids, and he's attended their events, and like this is family now, right? And we often talk about that. We create our family with our community, and we had that amazing opportunity with Talor. So welcome, Talor. Thanks for coming on our show.
Yeah, no worries, guys. Thanks for having me. It's an honor. It's pretty cool what you guys are doing here, and I think you guys have the ability to reach a lot of people. And I think it's really cool because even though everybody has the same story, I think there is a lot of trials that people go through that are very, very similar, right? So it's kind of cool that I'm happy just to share my story and what I've been through, and kind of if I can resonate with anybody, then I'm thrilled. So
Yeah. So you play a sport in Canada, which is our national sport. In the US, it's very well known. In the UK, it doesn't exist, does it?
No, we play like field hockey, if anything. Um, like we run on grass, um, with the ball. But yeah, we don't play a lot of ice hockey. There is ice hockey, but it's not
I,
a
I was
well-known
gonna
sport.
say there's a challenge I have for you because there's a pretty good UK Pro League, hockey Pro League out there, and it's
Okay.
growing a lot. So definitely check it out. I think it's the EIHL. So check it out. It's there's some guys that have played in the AHL that play in that league, and it's starting to grow pretty good. And so definitely get on that bandwagon there. So
You're
I
gonna be
love
like
that.
a Canadian soon, Luke. Like you're gonna
I'm
be
gonna
like into
turn into it.
hockey. You're gonna be like wearing toques soon. Like this is a whole thing for you soon.
Yeah, well, excited. Can I start with the first question?
You can definitely start with the first question.
Boom. First question. Where did your love for hockey come from? Because I know that's your like life's passion. Where did that begin?
Great question.
you live in Canada. It's kind of you can't get away from it, really, to be honest. It's funny because my dad, he played professional football, and he played university basketball and some national team basketball up in here in Canada. So he was a guy that he was blessed with a 6'4" frame and 250 pound weight, and he was able to crush guys in football, and also he's a very skilled athlete, basketball, track. But so he was a guy that really, when I was younger, he pushed basketball on me, and I loved it. Like I grew up playing, but then all my friends in Canada, they're playing hockey, right? So for years, I think it took me 3 years to fully convince him to let me play. Yeah, I think his 1 year of experience when he was 6 years old with hockey kind of turned him off a bit from it. Being a black man from the Caribbean and getting his not really used to skating and stuff, right? So yeah, I think he had 1 year and he was done. But I really practically begged him for 3 years to play because all my friends were playing, and he finally let me do it. He thought I was crazy, I think. But now we have 5 kids in my family, including me. I'm the oldest, and all 5 of us played at a pretty high level of hockey. And the 2 girls are done, but the 3 boys that we're still playing at a pretty high level hockey and of hockey. So it's been cool. He's turned in from a football basketball guy to a pretty intense hockey dad now. And the best part is like we're starting a business with the hockey stuff as well. So it's pretty exciting. It's crazy how it's been a big 180 for him. But yeah, but my intro to hockey was through friends and just the community of hockey in Canada here. So
Yeah. So you've taken something that you love, which you developed in community, And so over the course of many years, you're now making a business where you're actually going to take something that you love, the community. You're going to now make a community for other people to learn how important it is to have that. Because it's really not about, being excellent at the sport. It was the community that really drove you to do what you do, right?
Yeah, so like just growing up and being given the support and the being told you have the ability to do anything, and just kind of keeping at it, because like I said, I didn't have much success being young growing up when I first started, and I just kept on playing because I loved it and I had support. And obviously my faith was a big part of that too, which is pretty, that tied into everything in life as well, right?
So so let's dive into that a little bit then. You say your faith's a big part of that. Like, did you grow up a Christian? Was this something that you came encountered with like later on in life? And how has that played a massive part in your life and journey and your passion?
No, for sure. Like I was fortunate. I was blessed to be brought up in a Christian family, and my mom and dad kind of had that foundation set for us. And to be honest, like when I was younger, like I obviously I've always believed in it, but I don't think I really dove into the relationship part of it until maybe my teenage years, and through trial and error and mistakes being made and good things happening. I think in the last really 5 years, 5, 6 years, since maybe 18 years old, is where I really, you got to make that choice where it's either kind of walk away from it or you dive right into it. And I was fortunate to really dive into it.
So you talk about the relationship aspect of it, because like a lot of our listeners have had different experiences with their faith. Some people might be listening who are maybe not Christians, more kind of describe themselves as maybe spiritual. Some people might have grown up Christian, but not had the aspect of this relationship. So just dive into that a little bit more in terms of what you're saying about diving into the relationship aspect. Like, what's the difference? What's been that difference for you kind of diving into that?
No, for sure. Like when I was younger, my parents did a very good job of like educating us on what who Christ was, and just stories in the Bible as well. So like I had a pretty good understanding. We'd go to church every Sunday. Whenever we tried to make it a priority. Our house was pretty crazy with all five of us playing hockey, but we'd make it a priority, whether it was online church or getting to go actually. And I think I I didn't really grasp what the relationship was. Like I believed in them like wholeheartedly, but I didn't really realize what having a day-to-day relationship was with him, and like kind of really having him as the focal point of your life, and just really like living every day with him in conscious, and like him helping you guide you through your day, right? Not just like him just kind of being there in the distant watching over you, but like actually like having that relationship day to day. Like if something's wrong, I'll pray to him, be like, hey, like, you know what, this is going on. And or if I'm like, God, I need direction here, like with whatever I'm going through. Like I'm really now conscious of involving him in everything I do, whether it's decisions, um way to deal with a situation. Like I really
Yeah.
try to lean on him for knowledge. And so yeah.
That's really great. I mean, that's something that we've talked about, Luke, in the last couple of our podcasts. There's a point in our lives where we go, I can't do it my way. It has to be your way. Because we get really exhausted trying to do it our way. So, Talor, why don't you
Oh
tell
yeah.
me, was there a point in your life where you went, I can't do it anymore my way? Like it has to be your way now. Do you have a story of that moment?
Well, you're well aware of that story, Yvonne. I know that. You guys were definitely a big piece of just really opening my eyes to what Christ really has to offer, and that I'm not on my own, in a sense, when you really sometimes feel like you are. And I definitely have a story, a long-winded story, but it's made me who I am today, and I wouldn't take any of that back. Looking back then, I 100% would have really liked to not go through that, but like when you look at it now, I'm so fortunate that I did, and it's really helped me shape the man I am today and shape my faith the way it is today as well.
So do you mind diving into that story? Like, tell me that story. What
Yeah.
We want to hear that
we've got an
story.
hour. Let's crack
Yeah,
on.
let's go.
So yeah, so a big thing was getting into junior hockey. I was never told, I was always told I wouldn't play junior. I wasn't good enough. I wouldn't play AAA. I wasn't good enough. And I just remember it started my first year, my last year midget. I got cut for my midget AAA team after playing AAA the year before, which is the highest level of hockey at that age group. And I felt like it was done for me, but at the same time, I had that passion to keep going and just had that faith that Christ would pull me through and push me through. And if he wanted me to move on, then it would happen. And essentially, what happened was I played junior B, which is like out here where I am, it's not the best. Like to move on, you're usually kind of done when you're at that point. But I worked hard, got rookie of the year that year, and for my team, made the all-star team for the league in my first year as an underage in that league. So I was showing that there was a bit more, I believe, and I just kept working, even though it was hard sometimes to really believe that I could get out of this situation. And so what happened was the next year I tried out for a couple of junior A teams. One team I went to academy, a hockey academy at school, and a lot of the junior A coaches in that area were coaches, or in the program were coaches in the area. So a team noticed me. I actually got called up to a junior A team that year when I was playing junior B, and that was usually rare to happen. And so I was on the radar a bit, and just being surrounded with those coaches in the academy, they kind of saw that I was better than where I was. So I got a tryout, and then what happened was I was looking like I was going to make one of the top teams in Alberta here. And what happened was a goalie dropped down from the Western Hockey League. So there's Western Hockey League, which is like the major junior, OHL, QMJHL. It's like the top level for junior. So a guy dropped down from that level, and then I was the odd man out, unfortunately. And I'm a goalie. There's only 2 spots on a team, right? So there's not much option. There's not much options. So I end up calling every team in the league, because I just wasn't giving up. I truly believed that God wanted me to play and that He'd open the door. So I remember I got with team in Olds, Alberta, and me and my mom, we'd have to drive 2.5 hours every day for practice, 2.5 hours there, 2.5 hours back for 3 weeks just to get a shot. And originally the team told me, you know what, Taylor, you're probably not going to make the team. We have 3 goalies here that are pretty established already. What you can do is you can practice with us until you find a spot, just to keep you on the ice. I'm like, for me, I was like, you know what? A, it's an opportunity to stay on the ice and stay sharp until I find a spot that maybe needs me. And then B, there's a chance. You never know, right? If I prove myself there, I might get a shot. So me and my mom faithfully drove 2.5 hours every day, one way, 2.5 hours away back every day for 3 weeks. And I just worked my butt off and did whatever I had to do to make an impression on the team. I just remember I was doing very well, and I worked hard to earn it. And I believe God had a plan, and He opened doors. And so what happened was, I remember like I was kind of a little discouraged because it was 3 weeks, nothing's happened. And then that team was well into the regular season. So now it's kind of late to even join the team, right? So they're about 7 games into the regular season, and I'm watching a game online. They're in Lloydminster actually playing, and I'm watching a game listening to a game on the radio, and I hear like the first shot of the game goes in on us. I'm like, oh, okay, that's not good. And then the second shot of the game goes in, and then I'm like, oh, like this isn't good. So then the goalie, he ended up getting pulled after the first, I think, 10 minutes of the game. For me, like selfishly, I was pretty excited because I'm like, maybe this is a shot for me. We're down to 3 goalies, with me being involved in that 3, and maybe they're going to give me a shot now. So the next week, I think it was starting on the 4th week, so almost a month, me and my mom drove down again, and I didn't have my license at this time. I just didn't have a vehicle. So my mom would come with me, and it's a long drive, and I just got my license. So, but I would go to the rink that day, and I'm pretty excited that maybe there's a chance they'll give me an opportunity. So they called me into the coach's office right away, and they're like, Taylor, we're going to give you a start. It's against one of the top teams at the time. Let's see what you can do. They said, if you win this game, we'll bring you in. We'll sign you the next day. So our team's kind of in the lower end of the standings, right? So I'm kind of, okay, let's see how it goes, right? So I'm so nervous for that game. Like I'm almost in tears because I'm like going into the tunnel, right? Because like I'm finally getting that opportunity I've always wanted. Yeah. And now it's up to me, right? And I just prayed, like, I'm like, God, I need you here. Like, we're playing against one of the top teams. I'm playing against a 20-year-old goalie that I looked up to my whole life as well. And this is like surreal to me. And I just remember almost being in tears because like I finally got this chance. And I went in, and first shot of the game against me goes in. There's a high tip from the slot, and it goes in. So I'm like, it's okay. I trust you, Lord. We will get this done. So we end up winning 3-2 in overtime. And 3-2 in overtime. And I end up getting first start of the game, and I get an assist on the game winning goal. And I had like 35 shots, and it was just like, I just remember just being so happy because like really like I think the devil was trying to attack me even early on in that game by when I got scored on early. And I just kind of said, you know what, I'm trusting you, Lord, and let's go. And it ended up working out. And the next day they moved me down. I didn't have to drive 2.5 hours every day. And it worked out. So
Wow, that is
Wow.
such a great story. There's so much in that story. Like, number one, that you had faith to keep going, because that's the hardest. We think that when God says something that he's just going to move everything for us, and we forget that we actually have to say yes and step with it before a miracle happens, right? When Moses didn't part the Red Sea without saying yes. Like, he had to say
yeah,
yes, and then he actually had to go do it. And so I love that story of that. I love the story of your mom driving you in faith every single day. Like, right there,
yeah.
that is a mom who had faith for her kids,
I just
and
yeah,
yeah,
it just shows the support that me and like my parents really did for us. Like no one, not many parents would. Maybe some would be like, you know what, like count your losses, but no, they believed in us and they
yeah,
saw the talent we had, and they just said, you know what, you just need to get noticed, and we're willing to help you. But like going back to what you said, what like I truly believe when you have faith and then you have a passion towards something, that passion comes from somewhere. Um, I truly believe like God gives us gifts in certain areas, and it's our job to kind of use those gifts to glorify him as well, right? And I truly believe when you have that faith and that passion for something, you mix them in together, no matter what you're going through, whether it's good or bad. I think you're on the right track. So and good things can happen. But that's the
Yeah,
start of a long story. So
that
that's the
is.
start.
That's just the
yeah,
start. He didn't even make it
yeah,
out to Portage yet, to where we live yet. That's only the beginning.
yeah. I'm about 2 steps away from there, and I'll try to get through it quick here. So second step, I'm in Olds. I'm about halfway through the season, and I'm starting to take the starting position away. I'm starting to play really well, and one of the it just happened that it just one of the owners of the team, his son was on the team as well, and his son was doing well, and like I just think it was a good thing for one of us to move on. And me, I was odd man out. I was a younger guy, so they end up trading me away, and I went to a team where a coach just like the GM brought me in and had an idea, and the coach kind of had a different idea. So I remember I went to a worst place team in the league, and I won't name teams or names or anything, but I got I went there. I think we had 1 win in 10 games, and I didn't get a sniff. And like it wasn't a good situation. Like we would be getting blown out, and the coach wouldn't even look to kind of put me in. So right away, I kind of knew this was not the place for me. And so Olds tried to pick me back up because they went on a 10-game losing skid after I lost, and they tried to bring me up, and they didn't have enough cards left to sign. It's complicated. Like at that time of the year, you're getting to trade deadline time. So essentially they thought they did. I got a release from the other team, and then they didn't have the card for me. So I'm like 2 hours away from the January 10th deadline at this point, and I'm calling every team in Canada. And I don't know where I'm going, how I'm going to be able to play. And essentially I just trusted God again. Like that's all I could do. I didn't have anything else. I couldn't do anything in my own. I tried in my own power, trust me, to get anything I could. And I remember randomly out of nowhere, 2 hours before the deadline, a team in Fort Francis that I didn't even look to call because I didn't know what the league was. It was Junior A, but I didn't know about them as Fort Francis, Ontario. And they called me. They're like, Taylor, we're going to give you a tryout. We can get you on a tryout card, and then if you make it, you'll sign. So again, parents paid for a flight for me to get to Winnipeg. The coaches met me in Ontario. First day I get there, I have the flu, so I can't even practice. So I like first few days I'm out of commission. The next day I ended up the next day I got in. I'm still kind of sick, but I did very well in practice, and kind of they're like, okay, you have some game. We're gonna give you a shot in a game this upcoming weekend. And I end up winning. The team was on like a 6 or 7 game losing streak, and they were 4th place in the league. Small league, is only about 6 teams, but it was a very competitive league that year. And I got a shot, won the first game. Great. They tried to give the other 2 guys a chance, and they end up losing the next 2 games, the other 2 goalies they had. So then I played the next game after that, won again. And I think I had 45 shots and we won 2-1. So they're like, hey, we're riding you. So essentially I get on a 10-game win streak there. I get player of the week, goalie of the month, and then get a shout out for top 3 stars in Canada for the whole like Canadian Junior Hockey League that year for that month. So at this point, we're playing against the number 2 team in the country. They're in our league, and they were a stacked team. They were making a jump to the NAHL, which is the North American Hockey League, junior league in the States. They were a Minnesota team, so they were looking to make the jump. So they had a pretty stacked team, and so they had they're on a 27-game win streak, and we go in there, and I feel pretty confident. Like I know God's in control. Like He's put me here for a reason, and we end up winning in a shootout and snap their 27-game win streak. And I think we won 5-4 in a shootout, and I had 56 shots. So that kind of, So then the team, we had confidence. We knew that we were good. We went from 4th place to 2nd place behind this team that was obviously had like a few losses that year, and things went well. And then we end up meeting them. It's actually funny that we get to game 7 against another really good team, Dryden, in the second round of playoffs right before the finals. And this team, we were down 2-0 with 2 minutes left in the game, and we thought our season was done. And we score one, and we're like, okay. One of my good buddies, John Carlson, he actually played in Portage with me for a bit. We both got traded to Portage the year after. He scores. He's a D-man, scores. We're like, okay, we have some life. 17 seconds left in the game. He dumps it in. Like I'm seeing this. I'm like, it's a 3-on-2, and he just shot it in at the goal. And like, what are you doing? Like, we don't have time for this. Like, I'm in my head, I'm going crazy because I'm like, we're done. The season's done. The goalie fumbles the puck, can't recover. He gets his own rebound, puts it in to tie in the game with like 17 seconds left in the game. So like, we're pretty pumped. We're fired up. And then we end up scoring 5 minutes into overtime to go to the finals.
Wow.
Yeah. So then we meet this really heavy hitter team in the finals, and they're planning, like, I'm sure they're planning to sweep us. Like, they were that good. They had about 7 Division I players the following years. They have a few players playing pro currently right now in some top leagues. Like, they were a solid team. And what happened is we lost the first game. I got pulled the first game. I had 35 shots in the first 30 minutes of the game, which is over a shot per minute. And I was playing well. It's just that they were ready. They wanted it. And then the next game I started again, and then we ended up beating them 2-1 at home. And I had 40 like plus shots, did very well. And then at the end of the day, we end up going to game 6, double overtime. And right before that elimination game, my parents were watching the hockey network that you can watch the games. And like before the game, the elimination game, they were kind of planning a celebration for after the game. So kind of premature. And we end up winning 3-1. And again, I got first start of the game. I had 55 shots, and we won 3-1. And the next game we went to double overtime with them. And if we would have beat them that game, I'm positive we would have won game 7, but they ended up getting a good bounce and scored in double overtime. And then, but that kind of is where I finally got established and got that, like, was noticed to be legit in junior hockey. And then I had some options to go to BC in the BCHL, which is one of the like main junior A leagues in Canada. And then I ended up choosing to go to Portage La Prairie because they were hosting nationals, and they offered me to trade for me and bring me in and have me there for the 2 years before they hosted. And that's where I went and met Yvonne and their family and some amazing people in Portage, and that kind of leads to there.
Yeah. And so we got to meet you. We met this young guy who has moved away from his home, and we met you in our church. which was
Yeah.
interesting because because he wasn't living in his home, he stayed with a host family while he was out here. And so the lady came up to Matt, my husband, and said, "Hey, there's this young guy staying with us. Maybe you can go chat with him and make him feel welcome." And of course, my family, we like to welcome tons of people into our home. It
Yep.
is a revolving door sometimes. And we meet this young guy who tells us he plays hockey. And we're like, "Oh yeah, that's cool." Yeah, no, none of us can skate, so we're like, "Yay, hockey!" Um, but what we really got to do is we really got to know him on a faith level, on a personal level, on a community level, and so even though our dream wasn't the same as his dream, we got to partner and be part of his story in his dream, as it's still going to this day. Um, so yeah, he got there, and then something happened. What happened, Taylor?
Yeah. So first year, it was a good year. Like I said, met some amazing families and uh, lifelong friendships that I'll have forever, right? And that was awesome. But hockey was going very well too. And the team, we had a really young team my first year. So this is my 19-year-old year. You get to play till you're 20 in junior. So my 19-year-old year, we had like 17 rookies, very young, but we finished pretty well. And I had a good year personally, and I had some NCAA Division I schools looking at me, knocking on the door. And the next year we were hosting nationals, so this is our year. Like we had a stacked team. Like this is one of the top best teams I've ever played with. And we end up, I think, the first to start the year we went on a 20-game win streak, and everything was so good. I was leading Canada in stats and goals against, save percentage, shutouts, and I'm having schools like knock on my door. And it was a very exciting time. Our team was excelling, and we were hosting nationals, right, which is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I remember in practice, this is right before like the trade deadline again in January 10th. I end up blowing my knee in practice. So we were playing like pre-practice, not even practice, it was before practice. And we're playing a game called Rebound, which hockey players will understand. It's a game where it's a goal against the players. And I just made a weird, like nice save, but weird. And I felt something in my knee like lock. And I panicked because I've had my knee locked before, and it's not a comfortable feeling if you guys have had that. And I kicked out as fast as I could, like to kind of like, and I tore my meniscus and had a bucket handle tear, which is one of the worst tears you can have for it. And it was tore in 3 different places, and I didn't know that at the time. So I'm thinking I'm okay, like I'll heal from it. Like it hurt. I couldn't straighten my leg for 3 days, but the few days, like the 6-7 days went on, like I went and got an opinion. They said, yeah, don't worry, you just have an LCL sprain. You'll be back in a couple weeks. So like I'm starting to recover and I'm feeling okay, but like there is something a bit off. It's like just tightness. And so we end up getting. So what happened was right before the trade deadline, I get a call from the surgeon, and he says like, Taylor, like this is like the worst tear you can get. You need surgery. I have an opening for surgery now, and if you get like this is rare. Like usually wait months. Like you'll be fresh. I'll be able to repair it for you, so there'll be minimal like long-term effects. And I remember telling him, I was like, if you think I'm going to be out, if it's not repairable. I told him like, do not fix it. Just cut whatever you need to cut out so I can play this year, because it's a quit. If he cuts it out, I can play in 2 weeks. And I remember, I guess I woke up from my surgery, and apparently I don't remember I was out, but my billet dad was there, and he said the first thing he did, I don't remember, but he said, you asked the coach you asked the surgeon, can you play? And I was like, he's like, no, Taylor, I repaired it, and I think I might have swore at him or something. I was not happy, and then I was out. And so it was hard. It was really tough. I lost everything, and it felt like the team ended up going to win nationals that year, swept our league. And the scholarship offers I did have were gone, because there was just there's unpredictability of if I could play or the next year. So it was just everything was gone, and it was hard, yeah, to say the
Yeah,
least.
that was definitely a turning point for you, because everything and then looked like, and it was matching the dream that God had for you.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like everything, every step for step, you were doing it all. And we remember, like as a family, we still talk about this. We remember the day that we went to church on Sunday, and we were excited because we were leaving that afternoon to go to Disneyland, and we saw you and we all ran up to you and you were crying. Um, because it was devastating news, because again, we walked as a community with you and we all sat there, went, why, God? Why? Everything was going good. Why is this happening now? And we all had to sit there and we had to sit in the waiting period
Yeah.
of God's timing for you, um, which is something that happens. So, how did that, like for you? Where did that go with your relationship with God?
Um, at first I really like when I got hurt, I went home because I had to rehab, and I I was very positive still. Like I felt, like it'll work out. Like maybe I'll get a team to take a chance on me. So in NCAA school for the following year, because now I'm aging out a junior, and like I had a bit of NHL teams looking at me as well, and I had an opportunity to possibly start as a freshman with this really good school, and as soon as that injury happened, it was gone. So it was just like when I went home and I was on a mission, I called probably I'd wake up at 7 a.m. here because we're mountain time, and I'd call those schools for probably 6 hours a day because they were Eastern time. So I tried to catch some coaches when they're in the office, but I was desperate at this point. Like I had the passion and the drive and I wanted it that bad. And so I'd spent time and things would get close and then something would happen. And so just like every time I tried to do it on my own, I felt it would seem promising, then all of a sudden it wouldn't happen. So and it was very frustrating. And I just felt like God didn't care. I was questioning if he was actually there, felt what I was going through. I probably did get into a bit of a depression as well, because just things following it probably was a 4 or 5 year span because things just got worse and worse after that year anyway. So
Yeah. Yeah, and that was some pretty tough times. So, what was the moment that changed from going down back up? What was the moment that you realized that God was with you through it all, but it never seemed like it?
well, what I'll do is I want to explain to people more like how much worse it got to,
Yeah,
because I think that's a big thing.
sure.
The first year I went to school that was in a college in Alberta, and it wasn't a big hockey league. It was something like I wasn't necessarily like happy with, just with what I wanted. Really good league, and it is underrated, but it's just something I wanted more, right? And I ended up going there, and it just didn't work out. I think I played 4 games that year, and I was still recovering from injury, and I wasn't doing well. It took me probably 9, 10 months, a year to feel fully comfortable in the net again. Because for a goalie, you're up and down on your knees in the butterfly and trying to make saves, and like it didn't feel comfortable driving into the post with my knee, right? Like it took a long time to really recover. So then I didn't play much that year, but I had my eyes set on transferring and going to a bigger league, a higher league in either Canada, which is CIS U Sports, and the top Canadian league in university, or the NCAA. I saw that dream, and I ended up transferring. Well, so I ended up finding a school in CIS, Nipissing University in Ontario, and I was pretty excited. And then I remember April 16th of 2016. I remember the day. I was just DDing for some friends, like it was a friend's birthday party, and I was DDing. And then I remember I was dropping a friend off at a house, and I just took a minute. Like he was saying bye to his girlfriend or something, and I was just taking a minute, like in my car, just waiting for him. And I was gonna get out of my car. It was a beautiful night. It was in the summer, and as I got a text, and I looked down at my phone before I took off my seatbelt or anything, and then I'm reading this text, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I got hit by a drunk driver. So I was parked on the side of the road, and the guy kind of swerved up, hit me, rubbed up against me, and then peeled off. But like he pushed me. I was on the like other side of the sidewalk. He hit me with that much force, and so like I was okay that night. Like the cops came. I ended up driving my vehicle home somehow. It was totaled, but I ended up finding a way to get home. And the next morning, I just woke up crying because like my head hurt that bad. Like it was, I couldn't look at the TV. It was really bad, and then my body was killing me. So then I end up having to go to the hospital that morning, and found out I had like really bad concussion that set me out for about 4 months, and then I had some lingering whiplash and some knee issues again with my knee that I just previously had surgery on the year before. And hips, everything, it just really kind of messed me up for a bit. So that was a setback to going to Nipissing the next year. I think I had a week to train before I got to North Bay that year. And things again just kind of started to go down. I went to Nipissing, had a really good camp, but I was out of shape. Like you can't train for this a week before the season. And I didn't get much opportunity that year. I think I had one chance. I did well at the beginning, had one chance, didn't do good. And then I kind of just didn't get a shot after that. And I played 8 games, I think, that year. And then the next year didn't play a game at all. Like I think we've gotten another guy and there's 4 goalies and I was looking to redshirt and transfer. So during that time period, it was really hard. Like I'd say I was depressed and my faith wasn't quite there and I didn't really care anymore. And, but deep down, you always know that he is there, but at the same time, like, what are you doing? And like, I was kind of more pissed at him than anything. And, I'd get into games and I'd feel so alone. I just didn't feel his presence anymore. Like when I'd go into games in the past, I knew he had my back and I knew I was going to do very well, but I just didn't feel that anymore. I felt alone. I felt like I wasn't prepared and I didn't have the confidence I needed to do well. So it just reflected on my play on the game in the games. And then I kind of, at the end of that year, I tried to transfer to a school in the States and I actually called the coaches up, said, this is my pass. I did very well in junior. I've had a few rough bounces in the last few years, but I need a shot and I know I'll take it. And they said, yeah, like we're interested. So I actually found out that they had one home game left for us a year. They're about 5-hour drive for me. So in the States. So I just drove there. I remember I just drove to Sault Ste. Marie to Lake Superior State and went to the game. The coaches weren't expecting me. And then I'm at the rink. I'm like, how am I going to like get a hold of these guys? I need to talk to them. Like how am I going to find them? And I just remember I'm praying and I'm sitting in the stands and I'm like, God, like if you want me to do this, like, let me talk to them. And then all of a sudden the coach, the rink's empty. I'm the only guy in there. The coach comes out to the bench for like a post-game interview. So I like ran to the bench and I was like, hey, like my name's Taylor. We talked last week. I decided to just come and drive out here. And they just said they really appreciated it. And they just kind of were like amazed by like the fact that I just come out to drive. They just said they would never forget that. And I looked to transfer there that year and didn't work out. There's some issues with eligibility and I end up our team. So what happened, another thing, our team, one of our goalies went down with an injury at the end of that year. The team so I'm redshirting, that means you can't play at all. One of our goalies goes down with injury the last game of the year. And my coach says, like, you need to back up for us, please. Like, we need a goalie. And like, my thought is like, no, I haven't played here all year. Like I have something else going on. I'm not like, I got to take care of myself. And then I had a very good chaplain in North Bay named Gord Fiss and Brent Tremblay, but me and Gord would talk and he just said, we prayed about it and we were really undecided on what we should do. And he gave me a verse and I remember we're in his basement. He gives me a verse and because I have no idea what I should do. I selfishly, I want to leave and go try my other options. At the same time, I just like need to do this for the team. But I was torn. I didn't want to do it. And I wasn't getting an opportunity at school. So there's no reason for me to stay. And I just remember he gave me a verse and literally said, like, walk with the people who don't give you opportunity. Essentially, like, walk with the people who don't give you opportunity, if I'm kind of paraphrasing it, and just like show your light in a way. So then right then there, that answered that I need to do the hard thing and back up. And that process, I lost a year of eligibility. So the transfer is off the table. We end up appealing to get that eligibility back, but it was too late. By then it was August and there was no chance for me to leave. So I was back to Nipissing the following year. So then, yeah, that following year, I had a very good year. I played in about 7 games all year with exhibition included and finished with a 940 save percentage, which was really good in hockey. And that opened up the door for me the next year to go to Nipissing again. I tried to transfer again. God shut that door down. It wasn't his will for me to play out there. So I had a school, Minnesota State, a school. Well, I won't say it, but Minnesota State. They were going to bring me in, and They had a younger goalie that didn't have that experience that he needed to kind of jump in. But then his goalie in the USHL, his starting goalie got hurt, and he went in and played for them in playoffs, and he went like on a 9-game win streak, swept playoffs, got MVP of playoffs. So he decided to go into school that year. So then I was back in Nipissing, and I got a shot to play last year. It was last year now, and got to start for the team and did fairly well. So it was nice to finally get some games in. But God had a plan. Like, he knew that I had to be back there, and I met a wonderful girl named Katie out there, and she's been awesome. We've been dating for 4 years here now, shortly, and so I think everything happens for a reason. And I went through those hard times because I know I wouldn't have the faith I have now if I didn't go through those tough times. So
yeah, I often say I say to people, do you know that quote that a lot of people say in terms of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger? And I remember someone said that to me, and I felt like God say, no, what doesn't kill you reveals your strength.
Yeah.
And it was this sense of, as you describe that whole story, is God revealing to you what he placed within you, that strength, that grit, that grind, that desire, that passion, everything that he used the situation to reveal to you what is possible with him, and also what's possible through you. And it's like we talk about it, Evan, don't we? It's this relationship. It's what God can do through you.
Yeah.
But to do something through you, he's got to show you what he can do through you. And he uses these situations to glorify himself within you. And your story is massively inspiring, and your dedication to continue to play and to go after things. I love it.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
It's great because it's what everyone goes through, right? We may not play hockey, but the thing is every time we go through these moments of life and we go, this is what I meant to do, this is what I meant to do,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden the door closes, it's like, well, maybe I'm not meant to do that. But here's the thing, Talor didn't stop going, this is not what I meant to do. He kept going, no, this is what I meant to do. Right. And there's something inspiring about that, because we doubt ourselves. And instead of doubting ourselves, Talor says, actually, I don't doubt God.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's the reverse of what people do. I know that I have done that myself, going, well, I guess that's not the door. I guess that's not God. And God's going, no, I didn't say it's not me. What I said was, I need you to grow a little bit more so I can put you in a position to sustain the things that I want to glorify in your life.
Yeah, so true. Well, like a big thing that was kind of cool, even though I didn't feel his presence at times, especially through the tough times, he'd always kind of like, I hate to say dangle a carrot, but he would like, he would kind of like, kind of reassure me that he's still there. Like, even so, I hadn't played many games in my first 3 years at Nipissing, and I went to a camp in Minnesota just to get exposure to a few schools so they could see me and possibly bring me up as a transfer. And I went to this camp and did very well. And the San Jose Shark scout was there, and out of nowhere he came up to me and he's like, where are you playing? I just told him, like, I'm trying to transfer out here, and I have a unique story that is probably long and might bore you, but it's I just have a passion to play, and I'm trying to just get out here. And he said, here's my number, I'm going to watch you next season. And he said, like, he's from around where he scouts that area a lot for the OHL teams, and he just said, I'm going to watch you play. And I've kept dialogue with him, and it was just kind of like God kind of gave, even when I was low and I was hoping like maybe there's something there, maybe there's not, he'd kind of be like, give me a piece of reassurance. I just remember, like, I had so much confidence. Like, I was just so excited after that. I was like, God can still open some doors out of nowhere, unexpectedly, right? Like, I wasn't expecting to have that happen to me, and that was the last thing I was expecting, and it was just really cool. And then so yeah, and then just finally, like, how he opened the door, like, it looked like my 4th year at Nipissing I wouldn't play again much, and then one of our goalies, he left to go play pro early, and it opened the door for me to step in and play and be the guy. And it was there was no option but to play me and give me a shot, right? And so it's pretty cool, like, to get that chance. And I'd say I performed as well as I could with it and put up some good numbers. And our team, we had a lot of injuries that year, so we weren't as successful that year. But we had about 10 guys injured, but we still were in games and we still had a chance to make playoffs that year. And I was fortunate that God gave me that opportunity to kind of showcase myself and play as much as I did. And it opened doors for what I'm currently doing now as well. So
amazing. So I want to ask you a question then. So what are you doing now? What's pressing in on your heart? What's God telling you now?
Yeah, I was thinking of just maybe focusing. Like, I want to do it, but then there's always that doubt that, like, you're too old, or you're not at the right space, you're not at the right spot. And it's funny because, like, God's kind of like put that fire in my heart again to kind of do what I got to do to keep playing hockey. And I don't know what that looks like, but just little things he's kind of like randomly I came across. I saw one of my buddies that me and him were that final year junior when I was number 1 in Canada. He was number 2, and me and him would flip places. And then we were battling all year, and me and him talk a bit now. And he just played his first game in the National Hockey League as a goalie this year. And I see that, and it's just like I'm so happy for him. And I text him, let him know, like, I'm proud of you, buddy. Like, but at the same time, it makes me feel like, what's the difference between me and him? Like, we were at the same spot. He got the opportunity and ran with it. And, like, maybe mine is just a little later. Maybe my opportunity could come later. So I've seen that. And then just like seeing Shane Doan's story and how, like, I think a big thing, the reason why maybe God didn't make me go that year, because I had lots of opportunity, but I wasn't spiritually ready. I wasn't mentally ready. I think maybe the lifestyle could have chewed me up. It's a pretty ruthless lifestyle. So I think I don't think I was ready. And I think the main thing was I was doing it for me and not for him and his kingdom. I was doing it for me and what I wanted. And I texted, it's funny that Yvonne texted me to come on this, because like that's really been on my heart lately. And then she texted me about this, and I was just thinking that it got me back to a conversation me, her, and Matt had prior, and she did some awesome prophesying over me. And it just made me think, like, God could use my story. I don't know what he has planned for me. Like, I'm still kind of running with it, but like, he could use my story in whatever capacity, whether that is, I do find a way to crack the lineup in the AHL team one day. Like, if anything, I doubt myself, but I'm not going to doubt him. Like, if he can open any door he wants to. But the thing is like, my thoughts and mind have transitioned from, like, I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it to glorify his kingdom. So if I get the opportunity to ever suit up for a top end pro team, an NHL team, whatever, I'm doing it for him, not me. Like, I want to glorify his name and, like, use my story that I've been through to encourage others and help build his kingdom. And I think once I remember I was texting him on the other night, I couldn't sleep. I was so tired. I had a long day, but I was in bed till like 3 a.m. wide awake, but I was tired. So when I know that God's trying to tell me that something. So I just started praying, and I got my Bible out, and then I was putting notes down, and like, I just have notes of what God was putting on my heart at that time. And that was really where I think this is a week ago, that I've really thought of, like, it's not for me, it's for what I can do for his kingdom. I'm just a little tool in his toolbox. Like, he's using me for for what hopefully I can help build his kingdom, and he showed the value of having a relationship with Christ and what it can do. So
it's beautiful to listen to, mate. And even like throughout your story about how it's your desire to play hockey, it's your desire to, become pro or just do it for a living. It's like all these desires. It just makes me think of what the Bible says. He wants to give you the desires of your heart, because he placed them there in the first place. And you're 100% right. I think some people often feel like, well, if I'm going to follow Christ, right, if I'm going to give my life to God, I'm going to lose everything. And the Bible does say 100%. That when you lose your life, you'll find your life. And I really do believe that God basically is like, no. It's just about you believing that this is your life.
Yeah.
And no, this is me living through you. This is how I'm going to use you, and surrendering your life, your dreams for his life and for his dreams which align already with your dreams,
Yeah,
because he created you for that. And it's just this replacement. I think you're 100% right. It's not about glorifying yourself. It's about glorifying him. It's not about
yeah,
your life. It's about his kingdom. And
yeah,
I can see God moving through you massively, and continuing to use you as much as you humble yourself like you are doing.
exactly.
He will exalt you in places that you could never imagine. I really do. I do see that in you.
Yeah. And you
No,
know
I
what? Oh, go
go
ahead.
ahead, Yvonne. Sorry. No, go ahead. Go ahead. It's your
You
show,
know,
not mine.
you are a guest on our show. You know, one of the things I love, because I've been on this journey for 7 years, watching you, it's watching your growth in God,
Yeah,
your struggle. You know, Matt and I have shared the story. We talk about it ourselves, but there's a story where Jacob wrestles, right, with God, wrestles, right, and basically, you know, like wrestles to the point where he goes, I'm not going to stop until you bless me. And that's what's been happening to you. You've been wrestling, but in a good way. Like, it doesn't feel good. Nothing about it feels good, but you're not stopping until you go, I want you to bless me on that. And I've watched that for 7 years. And now we're watching the blessing come from that
yeah,
struggle, because you haven't stopped. You haven't, you know, even in the lowest of times where you're like, where are you, God? You still did a couple of things that I want my the audience to listen to. He went into his community, and his when he didn't have faith, his community had faith,
Mm.
oh yeah.
and
And
so
like
he
you
went back
guys,
into them.
I just remember the conversation I had with you and Matt, and like I was at a low of lows. Like I was in tears talking to you guys, and you guys really helped build me up and just remind me you need that community, because when you're on your own, you just kind of get in your own head and you listen to the lies that you hear in your head. And it's really like that's the importance of having community, because like when someone's having a tough time, there's always going to be someone there to pick you up. And if two of you are kind of having a tough time, you guys can kind of like go back to the word and just be like, you know what, no, we're good, like he's there. So like I'm very, again, like I'm very thankful, because I know you guys played a huge turning point in just my faith and my attitude towards it as well. So I just want to thank you for that as well, because that was a life-changing moment for me, is for sure. So
That is so sweet. Thank you. I don't think I would do it any other way. You know, watching the story unfold has been a gift for our family, for sure. Having you on the podcast has definitely God's timing, right? Because
yeah,
I never thought about, you know, we were just talking about podcast guests. And I was like,
Yeah.
podcast, hockey, Taylor, and sent you a message. And it was the moment the message changed, something changed in you, and now you're ready to share your story from a different perspective. And I'm sitting here going, man, anybody who is struggling at this very moment, listening to this story and going, I know that, don't stop.
Yeah.
no,
Don't stop. God is good, period. We don't stop until it gets good. And if you're listening to this and you're like, wow, what my desire is to be the best cricket player. Go be a go. Your desire matches God's desire for you. It's not always in a church. It's not always, you know, being feeding the homeless. While people do that, it's amazing. But I want to remind people that we have desires on our hearts because God wants the kingdom everywhere on earth, everywhere.
mhm.
And so having kingdom people everywhere is so important. So wow. So Taylor, last question we're going to ask you, because I know you got to go, because you know you're building a business for future generations happening. Last question I want to ask you. If this podcast one day is heard by a young hockey player who is also going, I have a dream, what would you tell that young hockey player, that young sports minded player, that young person who's sitting with a dream and they feel alone? What would you tell that person?
There's a lot. The key is like don't lose that faith. Like really, like when you feel he's not there, he is still there. And like when I look back, I see it, and you just see you're so wrapped up in your own head and lies, and you don't at the time, but you do see it. Just really be conscious, spend time with him. Second thing is just don't give up. Like if you're passionate about something, like he's put that on your heart for a reason. Um, this world isn't perfect, obviously, like things are going to happen, but you have to just trust that and move forward, and like always acknowledge him. Like, don't do it on your own. Like, acknowledge him and be like, God, I feel like you're leading me to do this. This is what I'm going to do. And keep him first in it, right? Like, don't just go on your own and do it. I think I tried to do that many times and it would fail. So I'm really trying to focus on just keeping him in it, and not giving up, and then just asking for guidance, right? Like, that's the biggest thing. And it's cool because, like, even though all this stuff has kind of gone the way it has, like, there's really some upside now with what I'm experiencing in my life now, and like why I went through this stuff to prepare me for where I am now. And it's there's a reason all that stuff happened. I didn't see it. Maybe recently I started to see why, and it took me about maybe 4 or 5 years, 6 years to really see it. So it's nothing happens for no reason, is what I'll say. Everything happens, whether it's good or not so good for you. Everything happens for a reason, and you just got to trust him that he has your best interest in mind. He'll be taking care of you along the way. So
Awesome. What a great story. Well, Luke,
So
I guess
good.
you better start watching some hockey, hey?
I know I'm gonna have to clue myself up, and then when the man goes pro, I'm gonna get some tickets. I'll fly over there. You teach me how to play. I can kind of skate. Yeah, kind of.
we'll see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
no,
sure.
like that's the thing. Just gonna take it one step at a time and trust him, right? And just do my part, put my work in, and leave the rest to him. So
Keep going, mate. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for inspiring me as well. Your story inspires me. I'm sure it's going to inspire so many people. And I do really
Yeah.
believe that now you don't just have a story. I think attached to your story, you have a message. And I believe that the message that you carry, or maybe a message that you will discover what the message will be attached to your story, will lead so many people to know God, know his kingdom, and know how good he is, and glorify him as you say that. So God bless you, mate. And I look forward to seeing more of your journey.
Yeah.
thank you. I appreciate it. If you guys ever need a guest on again, let me know. So it was awesome.
Well,
Cool.
thank you so much for coming on, Talor. Yeah, you guys heard it. This is Talor Joseph on our podcast, On the Road to Damascus. If you really love that, drop some hearts into our comment section on the Road to Damascus podcast on our Instagram, as well as Damascus Experience on our Instagram. And stay tuned because we have many exciting stories, opportunities, and discussions about kingdom culture wherever we go. Thanks for joining us.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, thanks, guys.